Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from rain-slicked highway corridors, courtroom eyewitness architectures, and localized neighborhood stalking campaigns, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of sun-drenched Caribbean resort pavilions, weaponized tropical isolation, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered maid of honor running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, storm-battered perimeters of an exclusive destination getaway, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of an intense, trust-shattering deception matrix with 5 LIARS, the exceptional, pulse-pounding structural masterpiece engineered by the absolute, undisputed sovereign of tropical lock-ins, dark past timeline secrets, and high-velocity relational tension, D.L. Fisher. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, hyper-focused planning asset running an unyielding safety loop, a calculating, deceptively close circle of high society wedding party assets running a high-stakes proximity tracking routine, and an absolute defense of an individual's final personal sovereignty metrics collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological thrillers where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged holiday itineraries, corrupt childhood gaslighting, and a deadly ring of active blackmail frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised coastal ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated counter-surveillance boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, exclusive bachelor-bachelorette weekend in Punta Cana interrupted by a severe hurricane lockdown, forcing 5 friends into a deadly white lie party diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits, this book is engineered to lock you in. Fisher completely dominates the high-precision tropical resort red flags meet suffocating room confinement dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like Lucy Foley, Ruth Ware, Frida McFadden, and Shari LaPena, while treating realistic severe weather forensic logistics, complex interpersonal manipulation arcs, and protective high-density psychological extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, the hyper-focused maid of honor operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of mounting emotional exhaustion, decades of buried guilt, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within her social group's historical database. Behind her rigorous event planning footprints and tense personal history logs lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried high society secrets, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight behind a lifetime of protecting her inner circle and surviving complex psychological ambushes. Her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an aggressive internal shadow handler, parsing complex behavioral shifts from the bride, groom, best man, and a volatile work friend, and shielding her vulnerable sanctuary nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. A game designed for playful holiday confession, the infamous white lie party, devolves into a dangerous forensic tool, instantly cross-referencing their luxury resort perimeter with a high-level calculated malice. As the hostile predator's execution phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a dual timeline tracking grid, the present-day containment chaos is harmonized with the haunting echoes of a tragic 20-year-old historical event. The official diagnostic metrics of the global tracking centers flash white-hot when her unauthorized internal counter-surveillance maneuvers and raw deductive output reveal that an insidious identity engine, separating the fraud, the imposter, the cheater, the fake, and the absolute murderer, is radically, impossibly altering the group's historical balance of power. The standard boundaries of routine destination celebrations and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonist run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active, invisible war across the lockdown villas, where deceptive lifetime friends masking their true tracking coordinates, a raging Category 5 hurricane, and a calculation-heavy psychological shadow network launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress her survival data stream. the tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turn completely active, transforming the isolated resort suites, dark flood hallways, and private fortified residential cabanas into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hypervigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw mental stamina to preserve her focus before the hidden adversary's relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, determined to deploy deep geographical insulation, continuous psychological manipulation loops, and persistent psychological dominance to break her resolve, only to realize her hardened defensive protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight archival excavation, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching adversary behind standard architectural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Holiday Elite's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as D.L. Fisher reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial tropical storm or managing a difficult friendship fallout. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of psychological manipulation and psychopathic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their shared perimeter, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that historical emotional hazards had hacked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending lock-grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, a resilient heroine must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a psychological thriller, locked room island noir, dual timeline mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one revealed white lie triggers a fatal poolside showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Fisher writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, salty sea air, high-end tanning oils, damp concrete, dynamic adrenaline, spilled copper, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary standalone marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood hero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. 5 LIARS is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense island suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell with your network to rewrite the data. So secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.